welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm really glad we get this time together. Today, we are going to talk about something that typically gets overlooked. And it gets overlooked in founder conversations. As I said before, I'm a founder myself, and I'm very familiar with this world of what does it mean being a founder. So yes, there is something that typically gets overlooked, and this is not your strategy. This is not your deck. This is not even your product. It is something that is overlooked, especially during growth phases. And this is the state from which you operate when everything is on the line. Money, your credibility, clients, fundraising. So at the end of the day, pitches, and I know because I've pitched so many times with my team, pitches do not fail because of numbers, at least not only because of numbers, but they typically fail because of our nervous system regulation. Our nervous system is under pressure. So we do not know how to respond to this pressure, what to do to process and metabolize the pressure, the tension, the stress through the body. And as a result, we find ourselves to be really anxious, really stressed. So before we begin, I want to ask you something very simple. So hands up, and just for yourself, not for the camera, just raise your hand. How many of you actively train your body? Meaning you go to the gym, you go to a yoga studio, a Pilates studio 3 to 4 times a week. And now I want you to think about the next question, which is like, how many of you actively train your brain? And most of us don't. And yet, as founders, our brain is our most valuable resource. We count on it. We depend upon it to always be there for us, to never let us down. Yet, we do not take the time to prioritize it. We expect it to manage uncertainty. We expect it to hold rejection without collapsing, to stay sharp in back-to-back meetings, to answer difficult questions calmly. So here's the question that changed the way I see stress, that changed everything for me. And that was a question my mentor asked me a few years ago when I was starting with my business. And she actually said, Alex, your body has a gym membership, but what if your mind had a gym membership too? And today, I want to show you how you can actually create that space, that environment, that time within your day-to-day life to give your brain a pause, to give your brain some rest, to learn how to regulate your nervous system in those moments you need it the most. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alexandra Katka. I'm the founder and CEO of Oxygen. I'm an employee well-being architect. I have worked with 50 global organizations like Wells Fargo, Soho House, Hilton, And I've been a keynote speaker. I'm running retreats all over the world in magical places like Thailand. So I feel very, very grateful that I get to do what I love most in life on a daily basis. But the truth is that I didn't start here. 6 years ago, I was an executive in London. I was working in an elite PR agency, and that was my career dream. And the interesting thing is that one day, like any other day, I was at the office in a boardroom and I was giving a presentation to one of our most kind of our major clients. And mid presentation, while I was talking, I felt like I couldn't like breathe anymore. I felt like my body was overheating and suddenly I fainted. So they took me to the hospital and to the emergencies, and they said that they diagnosed me with burnout. So they said to me that I had to disconnect from work so I can heal. And it's interesting because when the doctor gave me that diagnosis, I remember sitting in a hospital room thinking, this can't be right. This can't be my story. Because I used to think that burnout happens to people who hate their jobs. I used to think that burnout happens to people who wake up in the morning and they just don't want to go to work. Those people who are not committed, they're not motivated, they're not passionate. People who have checked out. And I was all in. So the same year, I walked away from my job. And it wasn't because I hated my work, it was because I was deeply in love with my career. And that's the part that matters for founders. Because founders typically they get excited, passionate, motivated, supercharged to work hard and go all in for a mission. So let me ask you one question, very simple question. How many of you do you know what's the first stage of burnout? Every time I ask this question in founder communities, what I get to hear is exhaustion, irritation, disengagement. But what if I tell you that the first stage of burnout is something that sounds super positive? It is called the honeymoon phase because it is not lack of engagement. It is not a lack of motivation. It is not a lack of energy. It's all the opposite kind of emotions and states of being and doing. So it is the stage where you feel most energized. It is that stage where you push harder because it feels good to do so. It is when focus feels effortless, when boundaries feel unnecessary. I know this because I've been there, and I've been there in my corporate career, but I've been there as a founder. I know exactly how it feels. So think of it like this. When you are in love with someone, um, you forget to drink water. You might forget to drink water. It happens, no? You might forget to eat. you don't care to sleep or do anything else. I remember when I was in love, like it's been some time. I was like, I didn't want to go to sleep. I was just so immersed into this feeling of being in love. So same applies when we are founders and we just launched a venture or startup, and it feels like we can override fatigue. It feels like we can override tension, anxiety, because the mission matters. And founders are especially vulnerable to this because at the early stages actually reward overdrive. So we get rewarded. The harder we work, more we rewarded. But the reality is, and again, from my experience, that our body's warning signals when it comes to burnout, they don't get louder. In many cases, they get quiet. And that was me. I missed the alarm. So if you feel this way, you keep going, right? You keep going, you keep pushing harder. And the paradox we are living in is, if I'm doing what I love, why is my body breaking down? And the answer is because our passion fuels output, but does not automatically fuels recovery. Our nervous system still needs pauses, safety signals, completion cycles, even during joy. So we are told that if we do what we love, we'll never work a day in our lives, that stress, anxiety, burnout won't touch us in a magical way because we love what we do. But the reality is that if you are a founder, burnout isn't a matter of if, it is a matter of when. Unless you are proactive, you take preventative measures, and you learn how to prioritize your mental health. So resilience is not a personality trait, it's a muscle. And I want to show you how you can actually train this muscle. So to understand mental fitness, we first need to understand the stress cycle. And it's very simple, guys. I want you to close your eyes for a second and visualize that you are in the jungle. There is a lion right in front of you, and your life is in danger. Do you think you have enough time to think that you are stressed? No. There is something which is called the survival reflex in our brain, which in milliseconds scans the environment and sends a message to our body that we have to activate the fight or flight mode. So the body then will receive that message in milliseconds, and the body will react in a way that your belly will get tight, or you won't be able to breathe properly. It will be fast breathing, or you will start sweating. Why is that? It's because your body is preparing you to fight or flight. Do you know what's the interesting thing with this stress cycle? Only during the third stage of the stress cycle, the thinking mind kicks in. Only here on the third step. And I share this with you because I have so many clients, so many founders I work with, and they think, oh, I am stressed because I'm having stressful thoughts. So if I will change my stressful thoughts, I'll feel less stressed. But the reality is different. You know, as a founder, when you go and give a pitch on a big stage, there is the lights, there is the noise, there is the distractions. All those things happen just really fast, and your survival brain is the one that has to scan this quickly and send the message to your body that you are in a survival mode. Now, if we do not interrupt this loop, we stay reactive. What do I mean by that? Tense body, anxious thoughts. Anxious thoughts, more tension. And this is how we get stuck. So as Van der Kolk suggests, and this is a wonderful book that I highly recommend to every founder I meet for the first time, stress doesn't just live in our minds, it lives in our bodies. And this is great news. You know why is this great news? Because it means that the fastest way to hack your stress system is through your body. It's the easy way. And when it comes to mental fitness tools, the first tool I want to share with you today is breathing. But I also want to help you maybe become a little bit more aware of what the proper, like right mindful breathing is and how it can change your state of mind. So a few years ago, I was in Chiang Mai, in Thailand, in a Buddhist monastery. And one of those Buddhist monks, one day, he asked me, Alex, why are you here? And I said to him, I just want to stop feeling stressed all the time. And he smiled and he said, oh, easy. Show me what you do when you're stressed. So I took a deep, slow, long breath in, and then another, and then another. And I was sure I was doing the right thing. So at the end, he looked at me, he laughed, and he said, don't you feel worse? And I said, yes, I do feel worse. So here's why I've learned. So here's why. Inhaling deeply when we are stressed activates our fight or flight system. Exhaling activates our rest and digest mode. So if you only focus on big inhales, you can tip into hyperventilation, meaning you will end up starving your brain of oxygen. And instead of feeling calm, you will feel more and more anxious. So inhaling when we are already stressed activates the stress response, whereas exhaling activates a very calming response. So try this with me. I want you just to make sure you move all the air out of your lungs. So you exhale, 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 and then you allow your lungs to do all the work for you inhaling. So we're going to inhale for 4, pause for 5, exhale for 6. Now, this breathing technique is an evidence-based technique to help you reduce anxiety, sleep better, manage cravings, control or reduce anger responses. So all you have to do is just close your eyes. And I want you to breathe in through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the mouth. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2. Pause. 4, 3, 2. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2. Inhale. 3, 2, 1. Pause. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now bring both hands in the area of your heart center with your eyes closed. Stay here for a few moments. Breathing in and breathing out. Take a few breaths here. And relax. Beautiful. Now gently open your eyes and welcome back. Welcome back. So we practice only 3 rounds. The beauty with this technique is that you can practice anywhere, anytime, and you will feel the benefits. It will feel as if you are returning back to your center, right? It will feel like a moment of relaxation, a moment of you being fully present in the here and now. And this is a wonderful gift you can give to yourself, especially in moments when you are already nervous or anxious. It's really, really incredibly important to know that when you get stressed, instead of inhaling trying to calm yourself down, so much better to remind yourself, first I will exhale and I will make my exhalations longer than my inhalations so I can activate my parasympathetic nervous system and I can bring myself back to balance, right? So I just saw that one of you actually knows about this book, The Body Keeps the Score. Highly recommended. Highly, highly recommended. This was my favorite book in 2025. So here is the breathing technique again, just for you to recap the thing. So we breathe in for 4, we hold for 5, we exhale for 6. Simple. We practice this for 3, 2, 4 rounds. Very simple. So my next tool that I want to share with you, very, very, very wonderful tool. It can work miracles in your life. So many of my clients are founders, and typically when I work with founders, they say, oh, you know what, Alex, don't teach me meditation. Don't bother teaching me breath work, right? Because I want something to practice when I'm already in a very, very, very in the midst of a very, very stressful situation where there is no time to quiet my busy mind. I want something that works instantly. So, and I get it. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big believer of meditation. In fact, I practice daily. Meditation is a wonderful technology, but if someone is in the middle of a confrontational conversation with a team member, if someone is before a critical board meeting, if we have someone who has just received a rejection email from a major client, it can be very, very hard to quiet the busy mind enough so we can practice mindfulness. So this is where this micro reset can work wonders. So a few years ago, I was in Japan And I spent time with a Zen master who actually showed me this technique, and he showed me how I could actually practice tapping, meaning tap my meridian acupressure points of my body so I can bring myself back into a state of feeling in peace, harmony, and most importantly, control. To be in control of my emotions and my thoughts. So I will guide you step by step, but all you have to remember is we use those two fingers and we apply gentle tapping, gentle pressure. We don't want it to be too strong, okay? And as you do that, I want you to imagine that you allow yourself to really connect with the words. So there will be words I will keep saying, and you will keep repeating mentally back to yourself. The last thing I want you to remember is that every single time you tap, imagine the pressure, the tension, the stress leaves out of your body. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you to write down on a piece of paper or on your phone one single number. And this number, I want you to write the number that represents how much stressed you have been lately, from 0 to 10. 0, no stress. 10, super stressed. And just write down this number. Maybe recall something that might triggered you recently. And when you remember this, you already get stressed. What's that number? Right? I want you to write it down. This is very important. So if you've done that, let's go and practice. Beautiful. How many of you have read this book? Welcome to the rest of you who just joined in the middle of the presentation. I didn't realize we had more people. So here is the diagram where you can actually see the acupressure points. So I want you to just start tapping. Start tapping the eyebrows right here. See, like in the middle between the two eyebrows. And we repeat to ourselves mentally. The stress is here. Breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Now on the side of your eye, right here on the temples, you repeat, I feel this tension. Inhale through the nose. As you keep tapping, I want you guys to take very slow, long, deep breaths in and out. This is very important. Now under the eye and repeat, I acknowledge this tightness. Whatever tightness you might feel, we acknowledge it here and now. Now you tap under the nose, like here, and you repeat, I release this worry. I release this worry. And now on your chin, you repeat, I let go of this tension. Inhale and exhale. Now the collarbones with the right hand again. I choose to relax now. Keep tapping and keep breathing. I choose to relax now. And now just under the arm, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and you repeat, I am releasing stress. And now on the top of your head, you tap here and you repeat, I invite calm and balance. Now gently bring your left hand on the heart center, right hand in your belly. Close your eyes and notice how the body feels. How does your body feel here and now? And I want to invite you to see how it's through the body that your nervous system finally gets the message. I am safe. This is the power of mental fitness. This is how we hack our body. We hack our stress cycles through the body. So I'd love to hear how did that feel for you? If you can let me know in the comments. Thank you, Mimi. So lovely to hear that from you. And now we're going to move to the next one, which is an Olympian visualization. Every time I have a work with a founder and I share this tool, they are a little bit skeptical, right? They're like, Alex, this is too woo-woo for me. This is too airy-fairy. And my response to that is I ask a question. And the question is, what Michael Phelps, Novak Djokovic, Tiger Woods, and Usain Bolt have in common? Yes, you guessed it right. They all practice visualization before each and every critical, important performance for them, before every athletic event. And it is because it helps to remove uncertainty from the nervous system. So visualization is not a tool you use to feel good. It is a tool you use so you can actually remove the uncertainty from your nervous system and then to be able to perform at your best as those elite athletes do. So my recommendation is you close your eyes, and I'm gonna guide you in a few minutes, visualization practice. So all you have to do is just relax. Don't take my word for it that visualization works. Just give it a go. Let go of any second thoughts or any kind of doubts, and just invite yourself to be present, fully present for the next couple of minutes, right? Just give this as a gift to yourself to be fully with yourself and yeah, show some love to yourself by just practicing with me this very, very simple thing, which is called visualization. So I want you to close your eyes, sit comfortably, or stand tall in a quiet space, and just close your eyes and take a slow, deep, long breath in. And as you inhale, imagine you are inhaling strength. And every time you exhale any tension. With the next inhalation, just ground yourself by feeling your feet on the floor. And focus on steady, rhythmic breaths. Slowly inhaling through the nose and exhaling through your mouth. Now, with each and every breath, I want to invite you to feel your body relaxing and your mind clearing. Imagine your breath as a flow of energy, powering every muscle, washing away stress. Breathe in and breathe out. And now with the next inhalation, picture the environment where you exhale. An environment where you work at your best. Any space that represents your competitive arena. That might be a stage, it might be a boardroom, it might be a conference room where you manage your team. And I want you to visualize every detail. The lights, the sounds, even the texture under your feet. And with the next inhalation, I want you to see yourself moving with absolute confidence. Envision every movement, everything you do, executed perfectly. As if you are already performing at your highest level. See yourself smiling, see your confident posture, see yourself feeling at your best. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, silently affirm to yourself, I am focused. I am powerful. I am ready. And let this affirmation sync with your visualization. I am focused. I am powerful. I am ready. Picture any anxiety or doubt dissolving as you step into your zone. And as you hold onto that vivid image of success, can you just let its calm energy infuse your entire being? Take a few more deep, cleansing breaths, in and out, letting the feelings of focused confidence settle in. With the next inhalation, gently bring your awareness back to the present moment. Wiggle your fingers and toes, stretch if you need it, and open your eyes. Bring your hands to your heart center for a second. And just invite yourself to carry this sense of calm and readiness with you into the next challenge, into the next project, into the next chapter of your life. And now with the next inhalation, I want you to just relax the shoulders. And I want you to go back to the phone or to your notebook and write down the number that represents your stress levels now comparing to 30 minutes ago. Notice if there is any shift. Notice if there is any difference. And I just want to share with you, if you only remember one micro reset, make it this, the neurotap. So here is the invitation for you guys. Your brain deserves a gym membership too. It's because success isn't about avoiding stress, but it's about expanding our capacity to hold more. It's about building a nervous system that knows how to come back to safety. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm happy to take your questions. It was lovely to meet you, and it was lovely we spent this time together.